Hi, this is Arthur, and this is a summary of the story of Nahida's second story quest released in Genshin Impact version 3.6. The traveler bumps into Nahida, and Nahida shows her a strange crystal. Nahida found it in her house, but can't remember anything about it. Just then, a talking hydrofungus shows up and asks for help. They follow the fungus back to two more fungi, one of whom is injured. Nahida heals the fungus, and the fungus starts talking. The fungus is not a fungus and is actually an ancient elemental being. Long ago, this being's homeland and its inhabitants were contaminated with forbidden knowledge. This being fled with its family to Sumeru and integrated with local organisms. The being then started a new family with the hydrofungi. When Nahida cleansed the world of forbidden knowledge, the contaminated part of this being disappeared and injured it as a result. Now that the whole world has been cleansed of forbidden knowledge, the being thinks her homeland should be safe to return to. Unfortunately, this being also lost memories when it was cleansed and doesn't remember where its homeland is. The being also mentions that a deal was struck with the Dendro Archon long ago that she would return these beings to their homeland once the forbidden knowledge was cleansed. Nahida cannot remember the deal since all memories associated with forbidden knowledge have been erased from the world. Side note, this deal was likely made by Greater Lord Rukkhadevata, whom Nahida does not remember, but the traveler does. Nahida decides to help and sends a message to her familiars in the forest to look for members of the elemental being's family. They find one who took the form of an anemo fungus and joins them. They then head into the chasm to find another elemental being near the giant spike. This one took the form of a geofungus. They free the geofungus from some filth and it still seems ill. Nahida decides to use her crystal to cure the being. The elemental being regains consciousness and explains the Dendro Archon sent it here specifically to retain its memories and tell the Dendro Archon what the mysterious crystal was for. In order to retain its memories, the being needed to convert the contaminated parts of itself into something else, and the only thing that can do that in this world is the giant spike in the chasm. Unfortunately, the process means that the being does not have long to live. The geofungus being goes on to say that the mysterious crystal is the fire seed created by the Dendro Archon and can heal Apep, the Dendro Dragon. Like with the elemental being that took the form of a hydrofungus, cleansing the forbidden knowledge also caused injuries to Apep. Apep is an ancient being and contains much Dendro energy. If it dies, it could potentially destroy all of Sumeru. The fire seed can also be used to find Apep. The geofungus then warns them not to use the fire seed again since it is very fragile. As the geofungus dies, the hydrofungus absorbs its energy and memories into itself. In this way, the geofungus continues to live on. They then head to the desert to track down Apep. They find Apep and Nahida tries to reason with it, but to no avail. Apep then sends some elemental beings to fight them and they are defeated. Instead of letting them die, the hydrofungus absorbs their energy and memories with the help of the fire seed like it did with the geofungus. They then track Apep into a cave where Nahida convinces Apep to let them into the world within itself. They get sucked in and find the Heart of Oasis, which is the core of the world within Apep. Nahida tries to use the fire seed on the Heart of Oasis, but it shatters from overuse. Nahida then tries to sacrifice herself and her energy to heal the Heart of Oasis, when the hydrofungus stops her and sacrifices itself along with the anemo fungus. Turns out, absorbing the memories and energy of the other elemental beings made it powerful enough to heal the Heart of Oasis. Nahida and the Traveler also add some of their energy to the fungi. Just then, the remaining Guardians of Apep attack and the Traveler defeats them. The energy of those beings are also sent back into Apep just like those of the other sacrificed fungi. After the heart has been healed, Apep mentions that the sacrificed elemental beings did not die but were reborn without their sacrificed memories. Nahida then asks Apep how it had obtained the forbidden knowledge in the first place, and Apep dumps some lore. Long ago, an unimaginable war took place between the Dragon King, Apep, and his allies and the Outsiders for control of Teyvat. Side note, Apep's allies are likely a bunch of ancient dragons that ruled before the Seven Archons, and the Outsiders likely reference the other Descenders, including the Heavenly Principles. The Dragon King used the power of darkness from outside this world in the war, but ultimately died and Apep and his allies lost. Side note, the power of darkness likely references forbidden knowledge. Apep also states the Dragon King returned to life, but doesn't go on about it. After the loss, Apep kept looking for more forbidden knowledge to resist the new order, but was stopped by a giant spike. Side note, players have encountered the giant spikes before in the chasm and on Dragonspine. Eventually, Apep made a deal with Amun to acquire all his forbidden knowledge upon his death in exchange for allowing him to create a kingdom in the desert. Side note, Amun is another name for King Deshret, god of the desert peoples. Amun eventually died and Apep devoured him, his elemental energy, and all the forbidden knowledge within him. Unfortunately, the forbidden knowledge was too painful to extract, and Apep spent all its energy managing that pain until they all just healed the Heart of Oasis a minute ago. The group then leaves Apep and returns to the hydrofungi family that started this whole adventure. They tell them that the elemental being that was part of their family went home and won't return. The next day, they gather the Hydro Shroom family and the Anemo Shroom family to live together on a fertile piece of land that they prepared earlier. And that is the end of this video and this quest. If you like what you've seen here, please like, comment, and subscribe.